And welcome back to another edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Johnson, joined by the MLB department head, LaMarr Fields. How you doing, brother? How's your week been?
Pretty good, yours?
It's been great. It's been great getting some stuff done. Now, we've had a roller coaster of a week in Major League Baseball. The trade deadline has come and gone on August 1st, which was Tuesday. And before we get into that, I actually want to get into something that is a table setter because one of the teams that made some moves was the Angels. They made some additions pitching wise in the whole 9 yards. But I also want to get into this that Shohei Ohtani has seemed to have been injured a bit on his hands. He's been, from what the Angels broadcasters have been saying, is he's been like suffering from a few blisters and a few cuts. My key question is this. Do you think Ohtani would actually prefer to have a day off, or do you actually think this guy wants to play every day? And based off of that decision, do you think that this is going to impact maybe his performance down the line or, his contract that he's going to get in this offseason?
I don't know if it's going to. I don't think it's going to necessarily affect his contract. He's gonna get a lot of money, but as far as down the stretch, if these injuries keep popping up, like every game is when you're in a tight playoff race, every game is huge. So every game he's not playing, not every start he missed or start he come out early, definitely affects the team and their playoff chances. I mean, they made a trade at the trade deadline. They then lost five in a row. So I mean, it's hard to say, man. They gonna need him firing on all cylinders down the stretch if they want to make a run. They need to get Trout back soon too. Because right now it's not looking good. Six games back, and I I don't see a way right now that they can get in the playoffs. I mean, still a lot of baseball left, but 6 games back, and you got to overcome 6 or 7 teams that's in front of you. All them teams ain't gonna fall off the face of the earth at once. So I mean, the best bet they gonna have is they gotta get Trout back, and when he come back, he gotta be firing on all cylinders right away. Tani got to be healthy, and a couple other players, a couple other stars got to step up. But if you ask right now, will they make the playoffs? I would say no, and but still time. But it's gonna be hard. They're playing good baseball right before the trade deadline, and which made them okay. We ain't gonna trade nobody. We gonna make a run at it, but start losing 4 or 5 games in a row. It's hard to overcome in a playoff race.
Despite what Ohtani can do on the field, whether it's pitching or hitting, and we're gonna get more into this because there's other news related to this. I just think that any player's mental and physical health is above the line, far more important than any production. Because if you're throwing him out there just because he's your best player and he's injured and he's not producing, what good does that actually do for you and your team? It really doesn't do anything, and it only hurts the team, and it only hurts Ohtani even more because let's be realistic. Whenever Trout's not in the lineup, Shohei Ohtani is literally the Angels team. And as much as we say in the past that, one guy doesn't make a team, well, if Ohtani's really the only one producing, then yes, Ohtani really is the Angels team. And I think a lot of Halos fans will actually say that, to say the least. But I think in a lot of ways, you just got to give this guy a day off. You just got to give him time to regroup. Because let's just be realistic. If he really starts to fall off, which I don't hope that happens, but if he does, then it's just like, are you going to look back at that as Arte Moreno and the entire Angel staff and say maybe we should have given him a rest? Because let's just be realistic. Playing 162 straight games, I mean, there's guys that can do it, but that is also pretty brutal on the body because you got to make sure that you're balancing everything, you're eating right, you're doing everything proper. But even then, your body's going to want to break because of all the physical and the mental, taxation that's going on to. And I just think that maybe what should happen is the Angels should take a step back and give this guy a day off or two. I mean, they do it with Mike Trout. I don't see what the difference would be with Ohtani. I mean, to me, by you doing all that, it's actually hurting both sides more than it's helping both sides.
Yeah, that's just kind of hard to give him a day off now if he's supposedly making a playoff run. But I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation.
Oh, it definitely,
Yeah.
definitely is. Well, now we're going to get into some trade deadline talk because we've seen some massive trades go down. And I honestly want to get your opinion. We're going to break down the two biggest trades by far, and that's Max Scherzer going to the Rangers, and that's Justin Verlander going back to the Astros. And let's let it be known that both of those guys, in their debuts with their respective teams, they lit it up. Scherzer struggled a little bit, but then he actually was in vintage Max Scherzer form. And the same thing with Justin Verlander. Your thoughts on those trades and your thoughts of maybe it's some rejoice in both of those men.
I think it's good trades for both sides. The Mets getting rid of players that wasn't performing well for them for the most part, and the Astros and the Rangers getting players that they really don't really got to pay much money for. Because I think was it Scherzer's deal that the uh, Rangers are not playing nothing this year and like only half the contract next year. So
Yeah, they're
that's a
paying
good yeah
Rangers.
that's a good that's a that's a hell of a deal.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder why you're trading a guy anyway if you're the one paying for him still.
yeah.
No, I think it was a good deal on both sides. The Mets were able to get players and stuff in return that, they can then, help like say reload in the whole 9 yards. And I think that there was something on Instagram or something in general on MLB.com that talked about how Max Scherzer and I think Justin Verlander, I think said it too, but I am pretty sure it was Max Scherzer. He went to the Mets owner and he says, are we gonna like reload for next year? And Cohen was like, probably not. It's more looking like 2025. And I think that's what helped Max just say, you know what, it's probably just best to like trade me and get what you can and stuff like that. I'm a valuable asset to the team and I could be a valuable asset somewhere else. And it's like I want to break this down to the fans is if anything, the Rangers were one of the teams that really could give what they could give for Max Scherzer. And, the same thing with the Astros. They were able to give what they could give. And, it's all about having pieces that a team needs in return for you to get somebody. You can only give what you got, and you can't give what you don't got. And I think what it sent to Major League Baseball was the Rangers are really in this to win this. I think it's really for them, it's World Series or bust. They see a big opportunity and they capitalized on it. They got a pitcher that they could have. And I think whenever you look, and I know we touched a little bit on this last week, but I think whenever you look at the Rangers pitching staff now, that's going to be a scary 1-2 combination whenever things come back the right way. And the Rangers, get where they need to get. That could be a very scary pitching staff to say the least. And I'm a firm believer. I think the Rangers have put themselves as one of the favorites to per se win it all. They have the offense to do it. They also have one of the greatest managers of all time in Bruce Bochy, who can know how
Hmm.
to really mitigate himself. He's had to do this before, and I'm pretty sure by giving him Max Scherzer, that just added another element to say, you know what, man, I'm confident with the remaining 50 or so games that we have to date. But no, overall, I think it's a win-win. Now, are you surprised there? Because there are a few teams that did not make a move at the trade deadline that I thought should have. And are you surprised that some of those teams didn't? And if so, who we already know who the winners of the trade deadline are, but who are your losers of the trade deadline? People that are just like, you know what, you should have made a move and you didn't.
Um, whew, I thought the Giants should have made a move here or there more than getting AJ Pollock or somebody who ain't gonna do nothing. But what was it AJ? I can't remember who the Giants traded for. But yeah, they should have did more. I thought they should have did more. But word around the league is they value their prospects, which is no harm in that. But if you value your prospects that much, that means you better hope they better be good a lot sooner than later. It's quite a few teams, but everybody can't make trades. There's a lot of teams. I felt Yankees should have got some more bats in there, but we'll see how it pan out.
Yeah. If there was a team that I thought should have really made a move at the trade deadline, it was the Yankees. Just based off of where they're at, they really have a nice farm system. They have prospects that, they're able to trade quality for talent. And, there's going to be more on the Yankees to come in this podcast, but I just think that if there was a team that really should have made it, it was that. And, to be honest with you, I also thought that the Dodgers could have added a little bit more too. You in the game of baseball, the reason I say that there are some teams that are losers, and I don't mean that they are legit losers, but the way that the game of baseball should really work is you can never, ever, ever, ever go wrong with enough depth because
Yeah,
injuries are a part of the game. Guys can go into slumps at any time, and the more depth you have at any given position, you set yourself up better. Now, if the Giants value their coveted prospects, that does say something, but it's also okay. What's the timeline for some of those prospects? Like, are they immediate where like next year you feel comfortable with inviting them to spring training and seeing where they're at? Or are we talking that they're another 2-3 years off? Because if that's the case, then it might make sense to make a move for some of those guys to get to maybe make a move to get a major league guy that's already in the major leagues right now, and you trade off a guy that's 2-3 years down the line versus okay, well, if you value them that covetedly, well, if they're only a year away, like next year or whatever the case is, then okay, that's great. But if they're like 2-3 or so years away or even more, like I don't think you value them that highly. And I think that's a conversation that doesn't really get talked about a lot. But I mean, I agree with you on the Giants. I think that they probably should have made a little bit more trades. I mean, there's nothing wrong with believing in your farm system, but at the same time, I think that you need more guys that are major league ready right now than you do anything else per se.
yeah, that's
I
my
was
thing.
actually, yeah,
That's my thing. If you're gonna believe in your farm system, that means the next year or so they better be all up and playing well. If you're
exactly,
gonna hang on to them.
exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, that's just like even with the Pirates and the Padres making
yeah,
that trade that they did with Rich Hill and
yeah,
Chi-Man Choi. I mean, the Pirates got two guys that I've never even heard of. They're not even really I don't want to say they're not really good prospects, but numbers and stats stick out to me. But then
yeah.
they got a very good pitcher back as one of the Padres prospects. So I mean, I understood that the signing of Rich Hill early on in the season. It was the guy really played good, and even though there were a couple starts where he was hit or miss, I think that overall, he provided value for the Pirates, and they were able to get a prospect in return. So, at the end of the day, I see 2024, 2025, hopefully, and I want to stress hopefully being that window where you see the Pirates actually contending because I know a lot of Pirate fans that are very sick of, oh, well, Bob Nutting and everybody says that we got this 5-year plan. I'm just like, but you're already 3 years into the plan and you've been trading off every prospect in your system. Where are you going to be contending? Like, where is this 5-year plan going to come to an end where I'd be like, oh, that's what they were doing? So it is what it is. But just seeing some of these other, trades going down, it's going to be interesting to see, who eventually wins. I mean, obviously, the point of a trade is you want to see that both sides win. But we've seen in the past history where there have been trades where one team has totally won that side of the trade and where the other team has. And I just think from here on out, I think that it's going to be great to see whenever both organizations win in those trades and they win big and so on and so forth. But hey, I mean, if teams highly value their prospects, I hope that their prospects are up with them like next year in spring training. They get the spring training invite because, in my view, that's how you highly coveted a prospect. It's just like, well, I ain't traded them because I plan on giving them a spring training invitation. Like that's highly coveted value right there on a prospect. Like, yeah, I'm inviting this guy to spring training. If you're not, it's just like, then I guess you don't highly value them. I mean, that's just kind of the name of the game. And if people don't like that, then I guess people have different terminologies and definitions of highly coveted, but to me, I hope that it
Hmm.
pans out for the Giants. I hope that they really believe in their prospects because you know more about the Giants than I do. But I mean, hopefully, it all works out.
Yeah, they're good prospects. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, when you depend on players that's haven't played on the major league level and they're not as good as they're supposed to be, or really bad, then it sets your team back.
Just looking at some of these trades that I really didn't even realize happened, like Josh Bell going from the Guardians to the Marlins,
Yeah.
Jack Flattery going from the Cardinals to the Orioles, and then you have Tommy Pham that went from the Mets to the D-backs. And then the thing that really surprised me was I'm surprised that like the Pirates were actually able to get something for Austin Hedges, moving him from the Pirates to the Rangers. And it
Hmm.
also made headlines whenever he wore his Pirates gear the next day down in Arlington. But I mean, just seeing some of these trades, I mean, you hope the best for them, but it's just it is what it is at this point. That's why you make the trades. You make them so that they can potentially the Blue Jays, they were even prudent getting Paul DeJong
Hmm.
because they don't know about what can happen with Bo Bichette, but it is what it is at the end of the day. But now you have anything more to say on that? Because I only wanted to highlight those two because it's just like
No,
it's
yeah,
only
nothing
worth
more to
highlighting the
say.
teams that made some.
Yeah.
But there's also news that is coming out of New York this week, specifically involving the Yankees. It's kind of crazy in baseball whenever you have the Mets and the Yankees that are both kind of like not having the seasons they anticipated. And the one thing I want to get into is this, and not that neither one of us are medical experts, but Anthony Rizzo had a press conference where he kind of just broke it all down. And I'm starting to wonder, is this a mess up on the Yankees medical staff, or was this or was this just something that wasn't getting much attention to because all of a sudden the guy was having a slump for 2+ months. And then all of a sudden, it's like he said it was coming off of the Seattle trip where he just realized something wasn't right. They went, they got it checked, and it was something Rizzo knew all along. And the guy's seeing something that's double or seeing something that he probably shouldn't be seeing. There's just got to be a silver lining here. I mean, what was it not proper tests being done or the whole 9 yards? Because now that's 2 months where the guy was slumping, where something was physically actually wrong with him and stuff like that. And now it's like, now he's shelved on the 10-day, like, inactive list. I really wonder what's going on with the Yankees in their struggles because now Domingo Herman's done for the rest of the season. He's in rehab for some issues that the Yankees made public. I mean, it's just a lot of people were preying on the Yankees' downfall. A lot of people love seeing the Yankees not winning, and I just want to get your thoughts more. I mean, now that this stuff is coming out, what is wrong with the Yankees? But more importantly, uh, what kind of things need to be done per se in the offseason? Because it really just does not look like they're going to be making the playoffs.
They got to get some more batters and some more arms. I mean, hitting's been a big problem this year as far as hitting for average. They always hit for decent power, but the averages are horrible. Stanton batting 212, Anthony Vogt 212, Rizzo 244, Gleyber Torres 266. I mean, just got to get some more guys to get some guys that hit for average and don't strike out as much. I mean, Josh Donaldson, he's basically unplayable. So just trying to get through those contracts, get some more younger players in there, and get healthy. That's always the main goal too. Gotta be healthy. Um, I need to get like Serrano needs to start pitching when they gotta get some better pitching for some of their pitchers they bank on. Like Soriano not having a great season, 2-6, and so just take this as a down year and come firing back next year. I mean, the season ain't over yet, but they got a lot of work to do this off season and start retooling some of their stuff.
I'm a firm believer that even the best teams in Major League Baseball have to have a down year to really learn what do they need to do for the next 5 years. That's
Yeah, a
that's
down
something.
year.
You know,
It's a down year, and they're probably gonna finish over 500. So
I mean, but
that's
that's
how.
even a good
That,
thing. If you're having a down
yeah,
year and you still finish over
yeah,
500, I
that's
mean,
crazy, huh?
that's not a down year in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah,
you could be the A's or the Royals and like have a down year like that. And I mean, what would really be crazy is if the Yankees really had a down year and everybody in the AL East really finished above 500, because then it's just like everybody will point to the wrong, and it's just like, but your team finished above 500. Like, even though they're in last place, they finished above 500. Like, okay, give granted, you didn't have Judge for 2 months or so. You didn't have this, you didn't have that, but like you still had quality. You had a quality season. I mean, minus a few things, but think it's a learning curve. I think, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of pressure on people in New York. I mean, there's always pressure on the Yankees to do well. And whenever they don't, it's like the whole house, like in the Bronx, just comes smacking down and stuff like that. I mean, seeing Rizzo's press conference and seeing all these Yankee fans, I don't got anything against Yankee fans, but just seeing, how they came in the comments, it's just like, man, like, even though you guys are quote unquote having a down year and like how you guys are talking, it's just like it's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of franchises out there that would dream to have this kind of year where it's like, yeah, it's down, but like they're still above 500. Like, look at the positives and everything. Like, you're still above 500, even with Judge being out for as long as he was and so on and so forth. But I think it gives them a lesson. You got to have the veterans, but then you also got to get younger. You also got to get guys that are
yep,
what they need to do. I mean, that's what
exactly.
it comes down to and stuff like that. I mean, there's really not much more you can actually say about that other than that needs to happen. Now, I do also want to get to this side because it's interesting how this happens. Dansby Swanson was with the Braves and then he signed with the Cubs. The Cubs right now are making some noise in that NL Central. Like I said, this is a division that's been wide open and it'll forever be wide
Mhm.
open this year. What do you think is the turning point? And do you think that because I had this thought process when I was really examining this. He came over from the NL East where he was primarily seeing a lot of where he was seeing a talented division, talented pitchers, the whole 9 yards. But now he goes over to the NL Central where it's going to be a bit of a transition. People expect that, oh, the guy's great. Well, he's just going to be able to duplicate and come over and does what he does. But there's a thing called grace with standards that I like to think about where yeah, the guy's good, but he's also got to transition to playing in a central division where, you know, playing in the East, there's a different tempo. Playing in the Central, it's kind of a little laid back. Do you think it just took him a few months to really just get used to the pitching and then all of a sudden, like, he's starting to turn it up now because, okay, I've had a few months to go around, as the season progresses, I'm going to get better? Or what do you think it is with Swanson, just, starting to like now turn it around a bit?
Yeah, just new division, new team, just getting used to it. But to he's on track for he's on track for the rest of like the his average for season stats. Like his last year he had 25 homers. The year before that he had 27. Right now he got 17 homers with still a few games left to play. So he's gonna finish around the 20 something home run mark like he had. His batting average 263 right now. Last year he batted 277. Before that 248. And the year before that 274. So he's right around his average per season. So I mean, I was shocked that he got that big of a contract in the first place. He's a solid player, but I didn't think he was nothing special to get that kind of money. But the all that matters is the Cubs thought so, and he's playing pretty decent late, and is right around his yearly averages. So can't complain too much.
I mean, there's good with the bad. I mean,
Mhm.
who knows? He might come back in the next 3 years and just really tear it up, and you're just like, where has this been? Like, but it
Yeah,
was all like the deep practice in the first year that
yeah.
actually leads to like the next.
But it's also about the Cubs ain't also worried about the hitting and stuff per se, but just the he's awesome infield. He's an awesome shortstop, and
I
playing
think that's
shortstop.
primarily why they
uh,
gave him the
That's why.
contract.
Exactly why I got the money. A, a, a .986 fielding percentage. Come on, man. Only got 5 errors this year and had 8 errors last year. Amazing in the field. So that's why I got the money right there.
Exactly. It's either one side or the other. I mean, it's great to have a great combination of both, but when you have, two sides where like you're really seeing the deal come up, I mean, that's more than likely why he got the deal was because he's a great defensive shortstop, and I'm pretty sure he's probably going to be up there with some of the Cubs greats whenever it comes to shortstops and so on and so forth. But there's actually another thing that I wanted to touch on, and that's that Cole Hamels retired. And for those people that don't know, he has been playing, I believe, with the Padres, but he had some of his greatest years when he was with the Phillies. He's a World Series champ in 2008. He said he tried to make one more comeback, and it just really didn't muster the way he thought it would. LaMarr, what's your thoughts on this? Because this guy was known as a really great pitcher, and he had really great stuff. No matter if it was his fastball, if it was his breaking stuff, but he really had a lot of great attributes as a pitcher. And it's gonna be sad to like not see him back in vintage Cole Hamels form, but he gave it all he had, and that's what counts the most in any professional career. But your thoughts on Cole Hamels?
Yeah, I've seen this coming. His last 4 or 5 seasons in the big leagues wasn't all that great. Um, yeah, glad to see him finally retire. It's like, he's struggling, man, and can't get going right. Best to retire and move on. I mean, 2016, his last truly good year, he went 15-5, made the All Star team with Texas. After that, 2017, he went 11-6, but had a 4.20 ERA. In 2018, he went 9-12, but had a decent ERA totally. Pitched good for the Cubs, but didn't pitch good for Texas. But that was pretty much the end right there. But yeah, good pitcher. 163 wins.
I mean, it's tough to pitch in the Major League Baseball. Sometimes whenever you get those umpire cams of viewing the play, you really start to see how good these pitchers and these hitters are. It's like, yeah, sometime though it does catch up to you. But I mean, he had a great career, like you said. I mean, early on he was vintage Cole Hamels. Not a lot of hitters wanted to face him, and I mean, it's the good with the bad, but obviously, he knows whenever to call it, career, and he had a great career. I mean, to call it a career and a retire, and you at least have, an all-star appearance, you have a World Series ring to your name in the whole 9 yards. I mean, think about how many great players that there could be that come through the major leagues and they don't even have one World Series ring, and he has one, albeit, it happened in 2008, but still have one that still adds more value than having zero. It's those small things that, come out of it and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, it's a great career for him. I'm happy for him, but now he gets to focus on other things in life. So I'm happy for Hamels. Yeah, anything else to add? Because that was pretty much all I had. Because that was all
Yeah,
the
that's it.
highlights I seen
Yeah,
throughout.
that's it. Good.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the MLB Inside the Diamond podcast. For LaMarr Fields, I'm Tom Johnson. We'll see you guys on the next one.